Before she was Hollywood royalty, she was just Nia, a girl with a name that meant purpose. Born in the heart of Brooklyn on October 30, 1970, Nia Long entered the world carrying generations of Caribbean heritage. Afro-Trinidadian, Grenadian, Vincentian, and Barbadian blood flowing through her veins. But behind her graceful smile and red carpet elegance lies a story shaped by strength, culture, and the poetry of survival. Raised by a teacher and a poet, Nia wasn't just born into creativity, she was carved from it. But what shaped this queen of black cinema into the icon we know today? From navigating a childhood of challenges to redefining beauty, success, and black womanhood in Hollywood, her journey is far deeper than most realize. In this video, we're diving into the untold story of Nia Long, her roots, her rise, and the real reason why her legacy hits harder than any role she's ever played. Before the fame, before the red carpets, Nia Long was just a little girl navigating heartbreak and hope. When her parents divorced at age 2, her journey took her from Iowa City to the streets of South Los Angeles, a place filled with both struggle and inspiration. Raised by a determined single mother, Nia immersed herself in the arts: ballet, tap, jazz, guitar, and acting. Under the mentorship of Betty Bridges, she began shaping the talent that would one day define a generation of black cinema. She wasn't just chasing stardom, she was surviving, evolving, and quietly preparing for greatness. That greatness arrived with a single role that changed everything. In 1991, Nia Long stepped into the spotlight as Brandy in Boys in the Hood, a performance so raw and grounded, it shook Hollywood awake. She didn't need to sell out or fit a mold. She stood in her truth, and the world noticed. That breakout moment wasn't just the start of a career, it was the rise of a cultural icon who showed that beauty, strength, and authenticity could exist on screen all at once. And this was only the beginning. As Bula Lisa Wilkes, Will Smith's girlfriend on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, from 1991 to 1995, Long's popularity on television increased. Jada Pinkett Smith was the initial intended recipient of this part. She was a fan favorite because of her chemistry with Smith. She went on to excel in movies like Friday 1995, which highlighted her comedic abilities, and Love Jones 1997, a romantic drama that took home the Sundance Audience Award and gained her accolades for her rapport with co-star Lauren Tate. Soul Food, which portrayed a powerful family member in a cultural touchstone that same year, cemented her as a dynamic performer. Other noteworthy film roles include Are We There Yet? 2005, Big Mama's House 2000 and its sequel 2006, The Best Man 1999 and its sequel, and The Best Man Holiday 2013, in which she portrayed Jordan Armstrong. She starred in NCIS Los Angeles from 2017 to 2018, appeared in Empire from 2017, and played Sasha Monroe on Third Watch from 2003 to 2005. Long has also dabbled with producing, most notably with Netflix's Fatal Affair 2020, and directed music videos, including This Too Shall Pass and Baby. A few of her honors are the Black Reel Award for Best Actress, The Best Man 2000, the NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actress in a Motion Picture, the Best Man 2002 NAAC Image Awards for Outstanding Actress in a Drama Series, Third Watch 2004 to 2005. Long's estimated net worth, which comes from acting endorsements, ranges from $6 million to $13 million. Dark and Lovely, Target, White Diamonds, Fragrance, Elizabeth Taylor, Residuals, and Music Video. She also acts as a surrogate for Barack Obama's 2012 re-election campaign and is a philanthropist who supports Black Girls Rock and the Sterling Children's Home in Barbados. First up, Nia Long, overcoming early racism and violence exposure. One of Long's most horrific childhood memories was of Los Angeles, where she saw firsthand the devastation caused by the crack cocaine epidemic that tore through neighborhoods, especially in South Los Angeles in the 1980s. Long lost her first partner tragically when she was a youngster. He died in a crack cocaine-related drug-related tragedy. In addition to the personal link, this loss was a severe trauma, since it highlighted the widespread violence and devastation her community experienced as a result of the drug trade. Such losses were all too typical in South Los Angeles, which was a hotbed of gang activity and drug-related crime, as graphically portrayed in movies like Boys in the Hood, in which Long later appeared. For Long, this event served as a sobering reminder of the precariousness of neighborhood life as well as the structural problems, deprivation, and lack of opportunities that led to tragedies of this nature. Long's understanding of the difficulties Black communities face was probably heightened by the murder of her boyfriend, and this understanding subsequently influenced her sincere portrayals in movies that tackled these issues. Long has discussed in interviews how her time in Los Angeles influenced her fortitude and will to achieve without sacrificing who she is. Although heartbreaking, this loss served as a driving force for her to express her suffering via her work, which enhanced the emotional nuance she gave to parts like Brandy and Boys in the Hood, in which she played a young woman negotiating love and survival in a comparable setting. Long experienced a distinct kind of tragedy while growing up in Iowa City, Iowa, before relocating to Los Angeles. Her first conscious experience with racism occurred when a little boy pulled her off her bike and uttered a racial slur in a profoundly defining moment. This was a crucial event because it made Long realize how different people actually thought she was because of her color. Her family was one of the few persons of color in the mostly white neighborhood of Iowa where she grew up. So Long was exposed to the covert and overt types of bigotry that were common in these settings in the 1970s. A racial remark and the physical act of being shoved off her bike made an imprint that lasted, emphasizing how vulnerable it is to be a Black child in a setting where racism is prevalent. This episode was especially noteworthy because of Long's mother Toita's reaction. Toita faced the problem head-on by enlisting the police, making sure that the act was formally addressed, as opposed to ignoring the incident or letting it fester in quiet. This approach aimed to teach Long a valuable lesson in addition to pursuing justice: the significance of opposing injustice. Toita's efforts showed her daughter that speaking out was an essential act of empowerment and that prejudice, no matter how minor, should not be accepted. Long's character was firmly established by this lesson, which helped her develop resilience and a sense of autonomy that she maintained into adulthood and her work. It is impossible to overestimate Toita Long's impact on how Nia handled these early experiences. Toita served as an inspiration of action and resilience as a single mother, juggling her responsibilities as a parent, artist, and teacher. She purposefully chose to involve the police in the Iowa incident in order to instill in Nia the importance of standing up for oneself when faced with discrimination. This strategy ran counter to the frequently unwritten rule in certain communities to stay out of conflict, especially with authorities, out of mistrust or concern about things getting worse. Through her support of organizations like Black Girls Rock and the Sterling Children's Home in Barbados, Toita gave Long a belief in the value of activism and the necessity of confronting injustice head-on. Long's public persona would eventually reflect these values. Furthermore, Toita's advice went beyond this particular instance. She encouraged Long to explore ballet, tap, jazz, gymnastics, guitar, and acting after introducing her to the arts as an artist and educator. By giving Long a platform for self-expression and self-control, these activities assisted Long in overcoming the emotional damage caused by her early life. Long was able to handle her traumas and turn them into a lucrative career, thanks to a strong parental figure and creative outlets. Nia Long's worldview and career were significantly impacted by the early traumas of racism and brutality. She was able to empathize to the hardships of her community via the loss of her partner to drug-related violence, which gave her performances in movies like Friday and Boys in the Hood a genuineness that viewers found compelling. She was able to depict the intricacies of Black life, love, sorrow, and resiliency in these roles, using her personal experiences to give her characters nuance. In a similar vein, her experience with racism in Iowa and her mother's reaction to it shaped a lifelong dedication to advocating for others and herself. Her advocacy efforts and her ability to function as a Black actor in Hollywood without sacrificing who she is are clear examples of this. As she has mentioned in interviews, achieving success according to her own standards, Nia Long comes in second. Resilience developed as a result of parental turmoil and divorce. Born into a family of Afro-Trinidadian, Grenadian, Vincentian, and Barbadian ancestry, Nia Toita Long was the daughter of Toita Long, a teacher and printmaker, and Dory Doc Long, a high school teacher and poet. Long's early life underwent major changes as a result of the split of her parents' marriage when she was only 2 years old. Long and her mother, Toita, would have to deal with the emotional and practical difficulties of being a single parent as a result of the breakup of her parents' marriage. The lack of a stable two-parent home can be confusing for a toddler, and for a long time, the need to adjust to new surroundings made this initial disturbance even worse. The divorce created emotional and financial pressures in addition to changing the family structure as her mother worked to reconstruct their lives. As the primary caregiver, Tita, an artist and educator, had to balance her own professional and personal goals while taking care of Nia. Because of this dynamic, Long was forced to grow up fast and learn how to deal with change and uncertainty at a young age. Long was largely dependent on her mother's strength and leadership, which would later play a crucial role in forming her resilience because her father was not around and stayed in New York. After the divorce, Toyota and Nia moved from Brooklyn to Iowa City, Iowa, which marked a dramatic change from the bustling metropolis of New York to a more sedate, predominantly white Midwestern community. Although it provided a new beginning, this transfer also brought with it new difficulties. Long's hometown stood in sharp contrast to Iowa City. Long and her mother also experienced cultural exclusion and sporadic discrimination because they were one of the few black families in the neighborhood. Toyota's search for fresh prospects was the driving force for the relocation. However, it also meant leaving Nia's familiar surroundings at a young age, which made her early existence feel even more unstable. Toyota got engaged in Iowa, which presented the possibility of a new family arrangement. Long's sense of stability was further upended when this engagement broke down. Plans for a steady life in Iowa were shelved due to the breakdown of her mother's relationship, and when Nia was 7 years old, the mother and daughter relocated once more, this time to South Los Angeles. This second move was especially important because the milieu in Los Angeles was very different from that in Iowa. Gang activity, economic hardship, and the escalating effects of the crack cocaine pandemic characterized South Los Angeles in the late 1970s and early 1980s. A young Nia had to be resilient and quick to adjust to a world very different from the relatively peaceful Iowan countryside in order to survive in this difficult urban environment. Long was compelled to learn flexibility and independence as a result of the frequent moves from Brooklyn to Iowa to Los Angeles. She had to adjust to new social dynamics, make new friends, and deal with the loss of familiarity with every shift. Despite being unsettling, these events taught Long to trust her inner strength and accept change, traits that will subsequently characterize her outlook on life and her work. Long found himself in a difficult atmosphere after relocating to South Los Angeles. During the 1980s, when the crack cocaine epidemic peaked, the neighborhood was a hotbed of drug-related crime and gang violence. Long was exposed to the harsh realities of metropolitan life in this setting, such as systematic inequality, poverty, and violence. She had to learn how to deal with these risks as a young child while still concentrating on her studies and development. After her mother enrolled her in a Roman Catholic school called St. Mary's Academy in Englewood, Long went on to attend Westchester High School, where she studied academics and participated in extracurricular activities like acting, ballet, tap, jazz, gymnastics, and guitar. These activities gave her a positive outlet and enabled her to transform the difficulties in her surroundings into artistic expression. According to some stories of her life, Long was also exposed to trauma because of the harsh milieu of South Los Angeles, including the death of her first partner in a drug-related event. The danger of her surroundings and the ongoing need for attention were highlighted by this tragedy. However, it was in this difficult environment that Long's resolve blossomed. In interviews, she has discussed her determination to achieve success without fitting Hollywood's mold, a mentality that was probably shaped in the furnace of her childhood in Los Angeles. She developed a tremendous independence and a dedication to forging her own path as a result of the instability of her early years and the threats in her neighborhood. As a single mother, Toyota Long played a crucial part in guiding Nia through the turmoil of her early years. By introducing Nia to the arts and inspiring her to follow her gifts, Toyota, an artist and educator, served as a role model for resiliency and inventiveness. Toyota made sure Nia had access to opportunities that would expand her horizons, such acting workshops taught by Betty Bridges. Despite the emotional and financial difficulties of being a single parent, Long was able to digest the turbulence of her early years and find a sense of purpose as a result of her exposure to the arts. Nia found great inspiration in Toyota's resilience despite her own hardships, divorce, broken engagement, and several moves. Toyota exemplified the value of tenacity by overcoming personal hardships and establishing a secure house in Los Angeles. After the failed engagement, she chose to stay in Los Angeles instead of moving Nia again, which allowed her to establish roots and concentrate on her studies and professional goals. Long's resolve to overcome challenges and persistently pursue her ambitions was greatly aided by this mother influence. Nia Long's independence and tenacity developed as a result of her parents' divorce, several moves, and the difficulties of her Los Angeles upbringing. Because of the unpredictability of her early years, she had to swiftly adjust to new situations. She learned to rely on herself from these experiences, whether it was surviving the perils of South Los Angeles, adjusting to a new school, or negotiating cultural differences in Iowa. This quality showed in her personal and professional decisions. Third place goes to Nia Long, resolutely navigating both personal and public disgrace. Long developed a close relationship with actor and producer Messiah Z. Dorsey in the late 1990s. Messiah Zhivago, the couple's son, was born in November 2000. Long became a mother for the first time with the birth of Dorsey. The second Long has frequently talked about the immense delight and responsibility of parenting her kid. Thus, the birth of her son was a life-changing event. But 10 months after the birth of their baby, in 2001, her engagement to Dorsey terminated. Because Long preferred to keep her personal affairs private, the grounds for their breakup were not made public. Long had to juggle a rigorous acting career and motherhood as a single mother, a task she embraced with tenacity. Nia prioritized being an active, hands-on mom, making sure that her son's upbringing matched her ideals of discipline and love, which she drew from her own upbringing by Toyota Long, a single mother. Long and Udoka, a former NBA player who is now a coach and is well known for his time with the San Antonio Spurs and the Boston Celtics, started dating in 2010. Long's dedication to motherhood was further cemented in November 2011 when the couple had their son, Kez Sunday Udoka. Long's personal life took a new turn in 2015 when she and Udoka announced their engagement, seemingly ending their relationship. They kept their relationship under wraps for a number of years, concentrating on raising Kez and helping one other with their careers. With parts in The Best Man Holiday 2013 and NCIS Los Angeles 2017-2018, Long had already made a name for herself in Hollywood and managed to juggle her work and motherhood duties. Given that both Long and Udoka were juggling prominent jobs, their relationship was viewed as a partnership based on respect. Udoka's relationship gained more public attention as a result of his ascent to popularity as an NBA coach, especially after he was hired as the Boston Celtics head coach in 2021. But shortly, Long's personal life would experience one of its most trying times as a result of this prominence. When word leaked out in September 2022 that Udoka had an affair with a female coworker at the Boston Celtics, Long's private life was thrown into the public eye. According to the controversy, which was extensively covered by publications like People and Niger News, Udoka had violated team rules by entering into an illicit relationship. In response, Udoka was suspended by the Boston Celtics for the 2022-2023 NBA season, a choice that received a lot of media coverage, since information about Udoka's adultery and the ensuing aftermath dominated headlines and exposed Long and her family to great scrutiny. The scandal's public character increased its impact. The betrayal was intensely personal for a long time, but the emotional damage was exacerbated by the public exposure. She talked about how devastated she was by the incident in interviews, especially how it affected their 11-year-old son, Kez. Kez found it challenging to cope with the turmoil since he was exposed to his father's behavior in a highly prominent manner, due to the media flurry and public debate surrounding the controversy. Lengthy, protective of her son's welfare, put protecting him from the emotional consequences first, and placed a high value on her duty as a mother. Above all, I am a mother and will continue to focus on my children, she stated in a statement addressing the situation, reaffirming her commitment to giving Kez stability amid a difficult period. Long's engagement to Udoka ended as a result of the incident, and the two formally parted ways in December 2022. Long's fortitude was further put to the test when their relationship ended, marking the second time she had to deal with the termination of an engagement. She continued to prioritize her kids, especially Kez, who was dealing with the psychological fallout from his parents' divorce and the associated public shame. According to Factmandu and other sources, Long filed for legal and physical custody of Kez in a Los Angeles court in August 2023 in an effort to ensure her son's welfare. She cited Long-cited Udoka's inability to consistently give financial assistance in her application, which brought to light the real-world difficulties she faced as a single mother after their divorce. Long attempted to have a balanced stance, despite the acrimonious nature of the custody file, asking for Udoka to have reasonable visitation rights so that Kez could continue to have contact with his father. This choice demonstrated Long's dedication to her son's mental well-being by putting his requirements ahead of her own complaints. Long's response showed her tenacity and steadfast devotion to her family. Despite the fact that the public controversy and the breakup of her engagement to Udoka were clearly painful, she handled the situation's emotional and practical difficulties with poise by putting her job as a mother first, making sure that her sons, especially Kez, were supported during a trying time. Her ability to remain private and dignified, despite being under public scrutiny, is a testament to the independence and tenacity she developed as a result of past hardships like her parents' divorce and her exposure to harsh Los Angeles environs. She has persevered in the face of personal catastrophes, early exposure to violence, racial prejudice, parental divorce, and a well-publicized relationship scandal. Her commitment to motherhood, philanthropy, and her profession highlights her reputation as a trailblazer in Hollywood. Long promised more details about her life and journey in 2023 when she revealed that a memoir would be published by the Gallery Books 13A label.